Good morning, guys. Drew here, quick video blog. I have not done one of these in a while, but I had a thought that thought I would share here. I've been reading Watchman Nee, and anybody who has spoken to me before or seen my videos before knows that, typically Watchman Nee has very good insight into how the spiritual realm works and how things of spiritual nature works and how your relationship can work better with God. So I'm reading this thing called Spiritual Authority, and it's kind of revealing to me a lot of different things and a lot of new things and new aspects about God that I didn't know before. And I was just thinking today, liberalism in general, modern day liberalism as it's seen today, I could argue the same for conservatism, because basically anything that you put before God is anti-God. You shouldn't put anything before God. God is number one. His authority is above everything else, right? But modern day liberalism, I have to say, is the most blatant and the most obvious affront to God as a culture. It really is. I mean, everything that modern day liberalism supports is opposite what a Christian, culture or ideas led by God would support. Everything. I mean, if you look at it, their highest virtue is Planned Parenthood, and they have no like a lot of them have no they have no consistency. So they'll look you straight in the face and tell you that, oh, it's all about helping people and helping women and and things like that. But really, everybody knows that Planned Parenthood is about abortion. That's the main thing. I mean, you can dance around it all you like. People go there to get abortions. It's about abortions, and people rephrase this and they change the words to say it's about a woman's right to choose. Now, I totally understand that you can find yourself in a situation, a woman can find herself in a situation with a man that she doesn't want to be with, that she doesn't want to have children with, or a woman could find themselves in a situation where they are raped or something like that. And these things do happen, but it doesn't mean that your whole entire energy should be dedicated to the institution of aborting children. Do you see what I'm saying? Like, I understand that there are special cases in which individuals, may have to make a judgment call on whether they want to have a baby and whether they don't want to have a baby. I understand that that exists out there. I know that life is not always so simple and straightforward. I get that. But liberalism as a culture has made it their business to promote Planned Parenthood as one of their highest virtues. It's like it's not something that you take lightly, and it's not something that you trivialize. You don't trivialize a woman's right to do what they want with their body or whatnot, and you don't really trivialize the fact that you could be, they could be taking, you could, in that woman doing what they want with their body, they could be taking a life, or removing a spirit that God has brought into the world. These issues exist for individuals. On an individual level, it's a very difficult decision. It's not anything to be taken lightly. I'm not a woman, so I'm not saying that like I fully understand this thing, but what I'm saying is that when people dedicate their whole purpose to an institution, it says a lot about them. Planned Parenthood, their primary thing is abortion. Okay, I understand when individuals have to make a judgment call and don't know where to go and don't know where to turn and don't know which decision to make, and they find themselves in that situation. I get that. That's life. Life happens. What I don't understand is when people who are not in that situation and when people who are not going through that take it upon themselves to make this their life mission. You know what I mean? It's my life mission now to promote Planned Parenthood. Like, how does that become a life mission? Like, how do you wake up one day and you say, I'm going to dedicate my time and my energy to an institution that focuses primarily on aborting babies? You know what I mean? Like, that's one example of the evil that I'm talking about. Another example is this. Like, God, by his authority, has basically said that marriage is between a man and a woman. Marriage is a covenant with God, okay? I'm a married man, all right? I know marriage is a covenant with God. I made one covenant with God prior to being married, and then prior to being married, I made one covenant with God just for me to God myself. And then I made the second covenant by getting married. When I gotta say, marriage is one of the most special covenants and one of the most special agreements and one of the most special things that you can do, not only with your partner, but with God. It's one of the most important ones, So when they say that marriage can be between two unnatural connections, like a man and a man or a woman and a woman, granted, human beings have the free will to make their choices. But when you make choices that undermine God's authority, when you make choices that go against the natural order or the natural, like One of the things I'm reading in that Watch Me Knee book is that God's authority is present in universal laws. Like, so you see the universal law of order, you see the universal law of reaping as you sow, the universal law of attraction. All these universal laws are representations of God's authority. And if we yield to them, if we respect them, we tend to live a more fruitful life. I've seen that myself. I've seen that in myself. I live a more fruitful life because I'm cognizant of these universal laws, and I follow them. I obey them. I know that you reap as you sow, so I'm very careful with what I sow. I know that what goes around comes around, so I'm very careful with what kind of energy I'm passing around. I'm very cognizant of the law of attraction, so I'm very cognizant about what I'm thinking about all the time because I'm going to attract that. All these laws are real things. And if you respect them, it means that you respect God's authority because God made these laws by his authority. Okay. And the reason I respect these laws is not just because these laws are present and I can see them. I respect them because they come from God. And I know that God is the ultimate source of everything living, everything good, everything great, everything energy wise. So anything that comes from God, I instantly respect. The only thing is that you have to discern whether it's coming from God or not. That's the key. It's not about whether I respect it or not. When it comes from God, I respect it, period. It doesn't matter when it comes from God and I discern that it comes from God clearly, I respect it. That's respecting God's authority. Now, some of these people don't believe in God. That's very obvious, but that just emboldens my point. Liberal culture is opposite Christian culture. Liberal culture is opposite worshiping God. Liberal culture is opposite honoring God. That's what it is. It makes you focus on things like your race and things like your gender and things like your sexual orientation, when in reality, all you really should be focusing on is your purpose and following God and doing what God has put you here to do. That's it. That's all you should be focusing on. You should be focused on nothing else but that. But your purpose, what God put you here to do, and executing it to the best of your ability, strengthening your relationship with God, strengthening your relationship with your wife, strengthening your relationship with your children. These are the ways that you really improve society, through the family unit, through the married, through being married as a unit, through your talents and your skills and your abilities and your careers. And through, the generosity and altruism of the heart and, donating and things like that to charities. This is how you improve communities. This is how you do things, but when you're out there saying, pushing for all these, different enforcements of law, because you want one race to get more privileges than another, or one race to get less than another, or you want one group to be put on a pedestal as a protected class and another group to be misaligned and trivialized. Like, when you start doing this stuff and you start playing God, you start trying to choose who should have what and whatnot, that's when you have problems. That's when you have issues. That's when you're not acting in your purpose. So anyway, back to what I was saying. It is my opinion that liberal culture is highly opposite everything that is God. Everything that they promote is opposite God's authority. Almost everything they promote, with the exception of maybe environmentalism. But even that has been co-opted into something different, where they can turn it into carbon taxes or turn it into some kind of movement that they can take away more of our rights and more of our freedoms, and more of our free will to make educated, informed, and intelligent and discerned choices. So I'm saying that this culture, it's a loud culture, and it's all over the news, it's all over the media, it's all over movies, but it's completely and 100% opposite Christian culture. Don't let anybody tell you different. If you walk with God on a regular basis and whatnot, you cannot be consistently and forever a homosexual if you walk with God. Eventually it's going to bring about a change in you, and you're going to stop living like that. You cannot be consistently a liar or a thief, a cheater, or a violent man, for example, and say that you walk with God. No. If you cannot, eventually God's work, God's Holy Spirit is going to remove that stuff from you. One of the most important things about Christianity is that it's about changing your character. It's about upgrading your character. It's about viewing God as the ultimate, and changing your character to obey his laws, changing your character to follow his layout and whatnot, not just because he's God, but because he has the wisdom, that he has the power, he has the energy. And then also, of course, on top of that, because you respect God's authority and you understand who God is. If you understand who God is, it's impossible not to respect his authority. If you understand who God is, it's impossible for you not to want to. If you understand who God is and you choose to not respect his authority, it's like hurting yourself. It's like I choose not to respect the qualities of fire, so I'm just going to sit on it. No, then you're going to get burned. I choose not to respect the qualities of water, so I'm just going to stay submerged under it. No, no, you have to respect certain laws, and that's just what it comes down to. You have to respect God's authority if you want to walk with Christ, and that's really what it is. You cannot say that you serve the liberal culture and also serve God. It's either one or the other. You cannot say you serve conservative culture, or you serve, even though conservative culture is more open to God, you cannot say that you serve conservative culture and then also say that you serve God. No, you serve what you serve. At the end of the day, I serve God. God is my number one, period. There's nothing else that comes before him.